Recently in the US, there's been a lot of turmoil. There's been a lot of gun violence, racism, corruption, just overall negativity. So rather than doing one of my normal, lighthearted kind of gun reviews, tips and tricks videos, I wanted to share more of my thoughts and my views on this event and these events and events like them, but indirectly. I'm not talking about the events themselves, I'm not talking about the politics surrounding it, or the policies that should or should not be instated. Let me explain. I've heard this said over and over. Past generations will talk about how hateful the world is and how when they were younger, it wasn't like that, and it's just getting to such a negative point. Now, I wasn't around in those days, I can't vouch one way or the other if that's true, if that's not true. I do know one thing. 20 plus years ago, if you're in the US on the West Coast and someone gets shot, something bad happens on the East Coast, you don't immediately know about it. I take that back. You know about it, it's on the news and stuff like that. You find about it in the papers, but you're not bombarded with it. In today's world, you are absolutely surrounded by it. If something negative happens to one person, one thing, that's all the world focuses on. You see it all across the internet, on every news site, every news channel, every ad on every website, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, everywhere. That's all you see. And I think there's something interesting to take away from that. You're no longer just seeing controlled media news coverage. You're seeing passerbys with their cell phone videos. You're seeing rants from people like me. You're seeing news stations with political agendas. You're seeing so much that you can't see the context around. Think about this. When XYZ happens somewhere and there's someone with a cell phone driving by in their car and they stop and film what's going on, they post it to Facebook and it gets 6 million views and they say, "This is wrong, blah, blah, blah." They don't know any facts, they don't know any context around what's happening. You're seeing the situation unfold from one single, uninformed perspective. But you saw it online, and what you see on the internet is always the truth, right? Come on. And there are certain media stations that are the same way. They have political agendas. They want people to believe a certain way, and so they show their media in a certain way with certain sound bites, with captions, and it all works together to create this brainwashing mindset. Now let's take a step back. The news has always had a reputation for reporting on the bad, the negative in the world. That's just human nature. That's what you expect to see on the news is negative happenings. So social media is not that different. If you're in the West Coast in the US and someone on the East Coast does a very good deed for someone else on the East Coast, you're probably not going to hear about it. I mean, you might see a nice thing on Facebook or something, but the magnitude of negative news versus positive news in social media, you can't even weigh the two. The negative explodes. People latch onto that, which begs the question, how many positive acts are there to every negative act? What I'm getting at is those discussions about the lack of negativity and hatred in past generations versus how hateful and negative the world has gotten today is largely due to the increase in news coverage, because now it's being covered by every single person with a cell phone on social media. Are there bad cops out there? Unfortunately, the answer is yes. But does that mean that all cops are bad? Absolutely not. Does that mean that most cops are bad? No. Are there criminals that are African American? Unfortunately, again, the answer is yes. But does that mean that all or most of African Americans are criminals? Absolutely not. Are there white people that are racist? Are there Muslims that are terrorists? Yes, but you can't take the individual errors of those and apply them to the group as a whole. Racism, violence, hatred, terrorism, these are things of evil. They are not specific to any stereotypical group. I have a hard time saying that there are bad cops, that there are bad white people, bad black people, bad Asian people, whatever it is. I have a hard time saying that. I can, however, believe that there are bad people. I'm sure you recognize this quote. In spite of everything, I still believe that people are really good at heart. So we really need to stop categorizing these bad people and these bad acts with the group that they belong to. It does no justice for that group, and in the end, we're all humans. There are good and there are evil. And I believe wholeheartedly that the good massively outweighs the evil. I guess what I'm trying to say is that today's day and age requires a slightly different perspective and lens to view these media events through. You can no longer take everything at face value. Understand that people that are recording events from their cell phone only have their one perspective. They're saying their opinion. They don't know the whole context. Understand that major news stations may have agendas. Understand that what you see on your Facebook feed is not always factual. Now, of course, there are reputable sources out there. All I'm saying is when you're bombarded with all this news of the negativity in the world, try and take a step back, assess everything from all these different perspectives, and make your own choice out of love and not fear. That's all I've got for you. Next week we'll be back with lighthearted gun tips, tricks, and gear reviews. Thanks for watching Greenlight Shooting. There's 3 important things in life. Only 3. Everything else doesn't matter.